All right, do we have Major Mike Heft ready to roll?
Yep, I'm right here.
Great, well thanks Mike. Let me just give a quick introduction. Major Mike Heft currently serves as the Area Commander for the Salvation Army in Saskatchewan. He's a stubble jumper by birth, being born and raised in Regina, and has served 16 of his 23 years as an officer of the Salvation Army in the province of Saskatchewan. 9 years in Prince Albert, and currently in his 7th year in Melfort. As the area commander, he is responsible for 14 congregations, 4 women's shelters, 2 men's shelters, and 1 long-term care facility operated by the Salvation Army. In addition to this role, he is the area commander, he is also the Emergency and Disaster Services Coordinator for the Salvation Army in Saskatchewan, and the Rural Ministry Consultant for the Salvation Army in Canada. Mike is involved in numerous committees and groups in Melfort, including Kids Sport, the RCMP Chaplain, Jumpstart, Habitat for Humanity, and the Melfort Rotary Club. He is certainly a person of a wealth of experience, and we're grateful to have him with us. I'd like to introduce his workshop called Components of Emergency Management, and I'll turn it over to you now, Mike.
Well, thanks for that, Tim. I was getting tired as you were reading through that list of stuff. Kind of forget the things that you do after a while. I know that we're running just a little bit behind. I also have a 10 o'clock meeting that I'm chairing, so I'm going to zip through this, and hopefully there's going to be some questions as we go along. Certainly for people, as I move along, don't kind of wait to the end for questions. Just there's a you can type in your question in the chat bar, and I'll try to answer them as I go along. So emergency management, of course, thanks Joyce for your information on Pincher Creek response, and everybody well aware. Thanks for bringing in the pastor and the fire chief, and that was very helpful. I didn't catch all of it, but I caught a lot of it. I want to just talk a little bit about how your church can help when disasters, emergencies occur in your community. I think primarily we're talking about smaller communities here today, but you never know when they're going to come. My sister lives in Corona, and I never thought that there was going to be too much going on there until just a few days ago when there was a grass fire that forced the evacuation of the community. We've had last week Estevan, a train derailed carrying oil cars. You just never know when you wake up in the morning what might happen in your community, and that highlights the reality that as churches we really need to be involved in all aspects of the life of our community well in advance of when disasters happen. It's great to jump in when something happens and say, how can I help? But it's way, way better to be involved beforehand and ask, if something were to happen, how would I help? And I think that's what we want to talk about a little bit this morning. I'm going to use the 4 pillars of emergency response and preparedness today, and the first one of that is mitigation. So something that you can do to be prepared to help emergencies not happen. So this might be something like building dikes to keep floodwaters back, or cutting down trees around your house, or making sure that anhydrous ammonia is redirected around your community. But for the church, we can really mitigate disasters by the facilities that we have. Make sure that your facility is up to code. Make sure that you're prepared for any kind of disaster that might be there. So I've got my next slide here. Make sure that your building has, invite the fire inspector to come along, the health inspector, ask them to point out any deficiencies in your building if you're going to be using your building as a evacuation site or a reception center or even just a gathering place for people. You don't want to have another disaster on top of the one that you've got because your building is either not available or during the course of a response something happens. I, of course, put in the scripture verse there that says the wise man built his house upon the rock. And we want to make sure that our houses, our places that we're going to use are up to snuff so that they're going to be available for use. We can also, and the last point that I've got on this was provide training in various components of emergency management or host training events. Most provinces have training events that they will come and bring to communities. Most of the time they're free. I know in Saskatchewan that's true. You can have the basic emergency management or incident command system or lots of different courses that they will bring out. And they are often looking for a place to host those events. So the church can get involved in simply opening your doors and putting on the coffee and doing what we do, but also encouraging your people to participate in that training so that they're starting to get their minds around how they could help in a disaster situation. So all of that is mitigation, and it also kind of links very closely with preparedness. Preparedness is actually not only now kind of trying to mitigate the potential disaster, but preparing for if a disaster comes. Part of that will be looking around your community and asking yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen? What kind of risk factors do we have? And getting to be a part of, and Joyce, thank you for bringing up the EMOs, the Emergency Measures Organizations in your communities, and how you can be a part of it. I forget the pastor's name, but the pastor that was speaking, saying that he was the Emergency Social Services Director on the EMO. This is a great role for pastors to play because it really is that how can we help in the practical things. The fire department, police, the ambulance, none of them during an emergency have time to do kind of the emergency social services part of it. But if it really is going to work, you need to be prepared, and you can see the picture on here that you want to practice your plan. So what are you going to do if something happens? How are you going to respond? And just practice what that looks like. This here is a command station, and you can see here, now I'm not sure if this picture is an actual emergency or if they're doing a mock disaster, but you can see that they're actually working the plan, and being prepared is very, very important. We can become involved in mock disasters, tabletop exercises, make sure that people know what their role is. It is amazing, if you're the Emergency Social Service Director and you're a part of that plan, how often it doesn't work the way you planned it. And to highlight that, a lot of the times we'll have all of these positions and people in place, and you start phoning when something happens, and well, so-and-so's in Arizona, somebody else is doing something else. We had an apartment fire in Melfort just a few months ago, and I was away in Manitoba, and we were in a place where the cell service wasn't really working, and my wife always bugs me because I never turn my phone off, and it beeps during the night. And so this one particular night I said, well, we're on holidays, I'm going to turn off my phone. Sure as anything, when I turned on the phone at 7:30 in the morning, the RCMP had tried to get a hold of me because there was an apartment fire in Melfort, and I missed the call. About an hour late, but we did respond, and we were able to get our group going. But it just highlights the fact that there's going to be complications to everything that comes along, and we need to be prepared not only for what we think might happen, but for the complications that come as a result of that. Moving right along, we've got response. So something's happened in your community, whether that's a truck's overturned, or there's a car accident, or there's a fire, or a flood, or whatever else. And we're going to actually now activate our response, and we're going to be there. So how can the church get involved in the response part of this? we can do it in a lot of different ways. There's some kind of typical things that churches will be more involved in, and I've outlined them here. We might be in the business of feeding people, so there's a response, and there's 300 people at the Recplex, and somebody's got to go over there and serve them coffee and donuts. How do you do that? What if it lasts for a little bit longer? And Joyce pointed out that sometimes it takes even the larger organizations a little bit of time to get to more remote places. And so you're going to need to respond in the short term. What's the plan? Who's going to do that? How is it going to happen? Where is it going to be at? And those are the questions that always come up. So we've got feeding. We perhaps need shelter. There are a lot of different ways this happens. Sometimes it's an emergency thing and you just have to open up whatever building you've got and people just hang around. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, doesn't recognize the fact that people are going to need to have a shower, need to have adequate washrooms in place, you need to have some feeding ability, you need to have some private place, all of those kinds of things that as the response goes, you can be a part of. Emotional and spiritual care. Absolutely, the church needs to be a part of that. Needs to go and be there for people, listening to their stories. It's important that we take some training. Sounds kind of incongruous that we need to train people in how to be compassionate, but a lot of it is what not to say as well as what to say. You can get involved in your local search and rescue, and I see Colleen giving me the 5 minutes left sign, so we'll keep going. Recovery. So after the response has happened, the floodwaters have receded, the fires have been put out, how do you get back to the new normal? And I don't say normal because nothing will ever be the same again. Everything has changed because of the incident that has taken place. My brother's going to be on the line tomorrow talking about their experience in Yellowknife and the mine explosion. That community is not the same today because of that incident. And so we're going to get back to the new normal. We can help structurally. Last year in High River, this was the scene. There was lots of people mucking out basements and taking out drywall. We can get involved in that. Samaritan's Purse is doing a great job doing some of those kinds of things. We can recover emotionally, helping people to deal with the loss, the fear, the post-traumatic stress that comes, and we certainly can be a part of that kind of recovery, both in our church families and in our communities. We certainly have a role to play in spiritual recovery, ceremonies, recognition events, funerals, celebrations that, regardless of the fact that something happened, we're still standing, we're still here, and we're going to celebrate that reality. We certainly have a part to play in that aspect of recovery. And the last slide that I've got is economically. We can certainly be a part of that, encouraging our folks, our church family, not to run down the road 2 hours to the Walmart or the big city, but to start now helping our local businesses and economy to get back up to speed by buying things locally, putting money back into our local economy, helping our businesses get up and running, because that's all part of our community. And if the local businesses can't recover, we'll discover that after a disaster, they may not open up again, or they may close down in just a couple of months because of the economic realities to that. So there's the pillars of emergency response, a little taste of how the church can get involved, and what you can do to mitigate and prepare and respond and recover from disasters and emergencies. It's been my privilege to be a part of that in many different communities. I'm currently the social services, emergency social services director in Nipawin, Tisdale, and Melfort. Keeps my feet planted in the real world as I also look after our responses in Salvation Army provincially. So I think I've taken 45 seconds of the 1 minute left, and we're going to open it up for questions for just a couple of minutes. I think that's where we're going. Is that right, Tim?
Yeah, that would be just fine. If anybody wants to star 6, we could take a couple questions for Major Mike.
This is where I discover if anybody's actually there or they've all gone to Tim Hortons for coffee.
You can put up your hand if you want to indicate that you're interested in asking a question. Remember that little hand icon up top there. And don't forget to star 6 to unmute your line.
Sure, you could also submit your question through the chat box too, I suppose.
Yeah.
And if they did go to Tim Hortons, maybe they're supporting the local economy.
That's right. Bring me one back. I should say, as people are thinking of their questions, if they're going to respond, that just encourage people. The Salvation Army is very happy to be a part of any emergency response plan that your community has, whether that be in small town or large city. It is helpful for us to know that we're on your plan. For Saskatchewan, I encourage people to drop me an email or give me a call saying, we've got you on our plan. We do have mobile canteens that can go out to disaster sites with a very short response time and do emergency feeding and those kinds of things. But it is helpful if we know we're a part of your plans.
And Mike, you have Salvation Army offers some extensive, intensive training, I believe.
That's right. Yeah. We just actually had a weekend of training, but we do have training opportunities all the time in emotional and spiritual care, critical incident stress management, food services, kind of the food safe course, lots of different courses that we're part of. In fact, we have one called Preparing Your Congregation for Disaster.
And how do they connect with the provincial EMO training?
They would, depending on who's looking after it in Saskatchewan, it's the Office of the Fire Commissioner, and they would be in touch. Mostly your municipality. That's the first place I would check, your local EMO director or municipality, and they can just make contact and say, we want some training. And they're more than happy to come out. I see Wayne McDonald has asked a question, do you have someone in your role in Alberta? And we actually just lost one of our experts in the field, just retired, Roy Langer, in Alberta. And we've got a part-time person in Calgary, Nairi Bond is her name, and she's in Calgary.
Can you type that in? Mike, would you mind, if you have a contact info for her, would you mind typing that into the chat box?
Okay.
Maybe now or later is fine too.
There we go.
Okay.
And we're actually hiring a layperson to come into that role. We've got the interviews going on right now, so there will be a new person fairly quickly in Alberta. But Nairi would be certainly able to answer all of your questions about Alberta. She was very involved last year when we were in High River and with the response there.
And I understand that Alberta has an association for emergency measures that also offers training through the provincial government. And I'm not quite sure about Manitoba, but I imagine each province has some of their own provincial resources. And so, but the Salvation Army does exist in each province as well and has lots of experience, as you pointed out.
That's right. I'll type in the name of our rep in Manitoba as well. And also want to point out that the Red Cross has a lot of training programs that you can tap into as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well,
all right.
I don't see any hands raised or other questions, so I think that's wonderful. Thanks for letting me be a part of this. And feel free, if anybody wants to be in touch with me directly, just feel free to give me a email or a call. There's my email right there.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mike. You're a busy guy, and we appreciate you taking the time. And I think even putting out the prospect of further training, in-house through your organization or the Red Cross or through the provinces, is a great idea. So thank you for planting that seed and for making yourself available via email for maybe a consult or a reference or a sort. So thank you very much.
All right. Take care, everyone.